I'm Kristen, also known as Voolenvine, here on my YouTube channel, on Instagram, on Ravelry, and pretty much everywhere else on the interwebs. And as always, I'm so happy that you're taking some time out of your day to chat about all the knitting, all the sewing, all the making, or whatever crafty rabbit hole I have to be diving down this week. And thank you so much to everybody who tuned in last week. Last week I had my friend Ellie, who is also known as Skandir, on the podcast. She was visiting from London to attend Vogue Knitting Live, which happened, oh goodness, 2 weekends ago? Has it been a whole, yeah, 2 weekends ago, which is crazy sauce. Anyway, it all went by so quickly. But anyway, thank you so much to everybody for tuning in. First, I just want to say apologies for the audio quality. I know many of you had a hard time hearing what we were saying. At the time when I was recording, I wasn't aware how soft spoken our conversation would be, so unfortunately the microphone that I'm working with didn't pick up our voices as well as it does when I'm just talking to the camera. Had I known that, I probably would have adjusted the settings. And anyway, long story short, I will keep that in mind for future podcasts where I have guests on. And again, apologies if you did have a hard time hearing. Some of you had no problem at all, you know, even though you said there was a noticeable difference. As long as you had earbuds in, you were able to hear what we were saying. But anyway, I will definitely be more aware of that in the future. But anyway, it was really fun having her on the podcast. This was the second time that she was on. And yeah, it wasn't the normal format of this general YouTube channel. So it's always fun to kind of like mix things up a bit. But yeah, we basically just shared our Vogue Knitting Live experience, what we purchased, what we're working on, and just general chatter, about what knitters chat about. So anyway, if you are curious, I will pop a link to it in the doobly-doo up here if you want to skip back a week and watch that episode. But yeah, just keep in mind that the audio isn't up to snuff. But I do recommend wearing some earbuds if you are having trouble hearing us. But anyway, yeah, that was a lot of fun. So thanks so much again to Ellie for being on the show. And yeah, we are back to our regularly scheduled program. Yeah, Vogue Knitting Live was so much fun. And again, thank you so much to everybody who came up and said hello, be it me sitting on the floor. It was a whirlwind, but it was such a great time. It was really great getting to meet viewers and customers. And I completely fangirled over meeting a few of my favorite nitty people at the festival. I finally got to meet Hohi Locatelli, which was it was amazing. It was amazing. So yeah, that was fun. I got to meet Jennifer Steingass. Who else did I get to meet? Andrea and Andrew from the Fruity Knitting podcast were there. They were really hustling with interviewing vendors and getting footage. And if you haven't watched the Fruity Knitting podcast, I highly recommend that you do. I will pop a link to it in the down bar. But they really work their butts off when it comes to creating amazing content regarding knitting and people in the fiber industry, interviews, and just, bringing general awareness to makers in our community. So, again, I will pop links to that in the down bar. It was really great meeting them and getting to chat with them again. I did run into them at EYF a couple of times. But yeah, it was very brief, but anyway, great running into them. Anyway, that's technically who I fangirled over. So anyway, yeah, and I was very good. I did not come away with too many purchases. In fact, I only purchased yarn from one stall there, the Magpie Fiber and Spin Cycle Yarn booth, which I'll chat more about in the episode. As much as I wanted to buy all the things, I was very restrained. So I'll chat more about that in the episode. Anyway, enough gushing about Vogue Knitting Live. It was such a blast. I hope those who traveled and attended had an equally fun time. And I apologize if I seemed very glazed over towards the end of the day. My introvert levels were, the struggle became a little bit real. But anyway, it was just, again, so wonderful getting to chat with viewers of the podcast and customers, and yeah, all the warm and fuzzies, and looking forward to it next year. Yeah, so a couple more announcements before I get into the nitty-gritty of things. We have our Calan Mai KAL, which is coming to a close. I'm actually going to extend the deadline because I have a whole nother week before I record another episode. So the original deadline was February 1st, which is this Saturday. However, because I have that long stretch of time, I'm going to be extending it to the following Wednesday, the day before I record the next episode. So I'll pop that deadline in the down bar below. So that's Wednesday of next week. So if you are still thinking about hopping on board for that knit along, you still have time. You still have time. It's a very quick knit, and so far the feedback has been amazing. So thank you so much to everybody who's purchased the Calan Mai KAL. I really love seeing all the different incarnations and the color combinations and beads, and yeah, it's been so fun. So you still have a little bit of time to join in, and I am excited to announce a winner. And just a heads up, the giveaway prize for this KAL will be a skein of Voolenvine yarns, my hand-dyed yarns, in a colorway of your choosing. And the other knit along that is coming to a close, but not for another month, is the PractiKAL. That is coming to a close on March 1st. That was a 6-month long make along where you can sew, knit, crochet, weave, whatever you want to do, make something practical for your wardrobe that you're going to want to reach for on a regular basis. That's going to go with a lot of things in your wardrobe. Yeah, things that are practical, so to speak, to put things in simple terms. But yeah, so again, that is coming to a close March 1st. There's still plenty of time to hop on board with that, and that thread is just alive and kicking with inspiration, ideas. Hop on over there, and if you're curious, that I'm referring to the Voolenvine RAVELRY thread. It's the place to be if you want to chat about the podcast, this YouTube channel, join the community surrounding this channel, and just partake in all of our make-alongs and knit-alongs and enter to win giveaway prizes. So yeah, anyway, that I think wraps up announcements and the intro. I have a finished object to share with you this week. Who am I? And this is something that I chatted about on the last episode I did with Ellie. I had just cast it on and I was having so much fun with it, but it is done. And that is my Shiftalong hat by Andrea Mowry. I love this thing so much, guys. So yeah, let me talk about it. The pattern is by Andrea Mowry, and it uses 2 skeins. I actually pulled one of the skeins from my stash. It's been sitting in there for, I want to say, like 4 years or whatever, but it's this black colorway right here. So the main color is by Quince & Co., their Chickadee base, which is 100% American wool, and this is a bean colorway, so it's like this very dark black heather colorway, which, yeah, it's a basic black heather colorway. I mean, can't go wrong with that. And then the contrasting color with all the little blips in it is Spin Cycle dyed in the wool in their Payback colorway. And I will hold it up. And it's just so awesome, you guys. So yeah, it starts out in this minty green and then fades into kind of like a golden mustard yellow, and then kind of like a purplish gray, and then kind of like this mauvey purple up here, and then back to like a gray up here. And then yeah, the color, I absolutely love this colorway, and I actually did pick it up at Vogue Knitting Live. So yeah, that just goes to show you, as soon as I brought it home, I cast this on and I was done with it. And then I could not resist topping it off with a faux fur pom-pom. And I think I chose the brown. I was gonna go with black, but then I feel like the brown just kind of picks up on all these tones here. So anyway, yeah, I really, really like the way it looks. And I will try it on so you can see how it looks. So, all right, let's talk modifications. And the only modification that I did to it is that I made it a slouchy hat. And how did I do that, you ask? I will pop a photo of what the original looks like here. It's just a basic, you know, beanie. And how I did this is very, very, very simple. All I did was cast on the adult size I think it's like the adult small. And then once I finished the ribbing, I switched to the larger needles and then increased up until I had the stitch count for the adult large. So I put all of the modification notes, without giving away any of the pattern, obviously, in my RAVELRY notes. So I will link to that below as well, so in case you're curious and want to make a slouchy version yourself. But super simple modification, not rocket science. But yeah, it worked out really, really well. I did not swatch, and I used the needle sizes recommended in the pattern, and I think it turned out really well. I think because the yarn is quite lofty, the slouch wasn't really slouchy, so I think that's why I was tempted to add a pom-pom to help weigh it down a little bit, but honestly, I love the way it looks. This is definitely gonna get a lot of wear. I have not left the house this week, so unfortunately, well, I lie. I did go to the bodega around the corner to get some soda, and then I came back. But otherwise, I did not leave the house. Oh no, wait, I did go to the grocery store. I digress. But yeah, it's such a simple, quick, fun knit, and I am almost tempted to cast on a shift pullover, another pattern by Andrea Mowry. I think she came out with like several patterns that incorporate this type of pattern motif happening here, and all they're slip stitches. It's super easy, super mindless. I basically, like when Ellie was over here, we were just watching podcasts and talking and knitting, and I was just working on this. So really conversational and fun to knit. So anyway, I'm trying to think what else I want to say about this other than I love it. I really love it. And I might as well just leave it on. So, yeah, on to the next project. Another finished object, she says. Who am I? What? Who? What? Yeah, this might come as a shock to some of you. It came as a shock to me when I finished it last night. Although it is not 100% finished. In my mind, 100% finished means it is blocked, it is photographed, and on Ravelry. Although that's not set in stone, but in my mind, that's to me what complete actually is. But I finished it, I'm in love with it, so let me show it to you. I finished it, you guys. It is done, it is done. My Soldotna crop by Caitlin Hunter is finished. This I cast on last May, so May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. I get 9 months ago I cast this on. This is a baby. I had a baby, you guys. And this is it. Anyway, so yeah, this is done. And if you've been following the podcast and the progress of this thing, you might notice something a little bit different. I was knitting longer sleeves on this. I was gonna modify the pattern to have full length sleeves. However, because this was languishing in my stash for so long, I was just like, I'm never gonna finish it. If I keep with the long sleeves, I'm never going to finish it. And I think that had something to do with, after trying it on, again, a case of the sausage casings. I tried it on and my arms it was just so tight around my arms. And I think the lesson learned here is whenever I'm knitting sleeves in the round that are fitted, I just have to go up a needle size and probably not do magic loop because that really messes with my gauge. So yeah, that was the takeaway from this. But I will be totally honest, I really love the way this looks without the long sleeves. Anyway, and so when I finished this last night, I had one sleeve that was already down to my wrist and I was ready for the ribbing. So I just finished the other sleeve, and then instead of sitting there ripping it all out, I just cut it off. I just said, you know what, I'm not gonna waste any more time. I'm just gonna cut the sleeve off and we're just gonna finish. And that's what I did. And I'm not going to try it on now because, again, I want to block it. It is very close fitting, so I think, it is a little snug on me, but it fits, and I'm going to get so much wear out of this. I'm actually going to wear it out for my birthday dinner tomorrow night with Dennis, so, I will post photos. Don't worry. I'm trying to think what else I want to say, other tthan it is knit out of my hand-dyed yarns, Voolenvine yarns, on my Smitten DK base, in several colorways. So this colorway, this gold colorway up here is Harpsichord, Revenge of the Harpsichord. And then the black is Grim, and then this pink here is Courtesan, and then this green, kind of like patina color is Deadly Nightshade. And then, yeah. I'm gonna try and hold it up really close so you can see it. Oh, it just makes me so happy, you guys. Just the whole look of it, and just to have it off the needles, and it's so good. And so a lot of you have been asking me if I'm gonna start creating kits again for this. I am still on the fence. Again, I'm one person dyeing yarn, so I will admit kits are a little bit, I know there are many dyers out there who are one-person shows, and I salute you. I don't know how you do it, but just kits and fade kits and all the kits is just not my strength. So I don't like disappointing people when I can't follow through on that. So for now, it's just going to be a no, but I am going to start dyeing these colorways again on my Smitten DK base. So You know, you will be able to get these colorways again in my shop very soon. So keep a lookout for that. And I'll talk more about shop update later on in the episode. Yeah, so anyway. Soldotna is done. And yeah, the only other modification I made was I was extending the crop just a little bit more, I think by like another two inches. So yeah, but like in hindsight, this is a super quick pattern. You could probably bang it out in a week if you wanted. You know, I not endeavored to make long sleeves, this could have been done easily in a week. Yeah, this part here was done in like 2 days, and the rest was just color work down, and then you knit the sleeves and you're done. Yeah, so anyway, you can obviously find the notes for this on my Ravelry page. I'm going to update it after I'm done taking photos, so you know, if you are looking for my notes, just definitely check out my Ravelry page for that. But yeah, Soldotna is done. Living in my Home Row Fiber Co. project bag. This was a gift to myself for Christmas because I love everything that Rochelle does. I think she's a genius. And yeah, it has, let me see. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but it's got this really cute sheep constellation enamel pin that I added on. So yeah, living inside is my Habitation blanket or throw. Which it's a pattern by Helen Stewart. And this is, so if you've been following the podcast, you know that I was knitting Helen Stewart's Land of Sweets cowl out of the Advent minis from Gabby of Once Upon a Corgi's Advent of Woolen Minis, a Advent mini skein calendar based on A Court of Thorns and Roses, a series by Sarah J. Maas. That was a lot of information. I hope you picked that up, but links in the down bar. But anyway, I was knitting the Land of Sweets cowl, and I realized all those colorways together in a cowl is not something that I would generally gravitate towards wearing. So I wanted to make something that I would actually use, and I would be able to enjoy the colorways, seeing all the colorways together. And after watching Selma, who has the Little Big Knits podcast, I saw that she knit one of the Habitation blanket, another pattern by Helen Stewart. After I saw hers, I was like, yes, that is what I'm going to be doing with those minis. So I'm working my way backwards from the calendar. So this is day 24, 23, and then I think I skipped a day here, so this might be 21. But yeah, I really, really love the way these colors are playing together. But yeah, it's going to start getting very multicolored as I progress. But honestly, this is such a wonderful, mindless, intuitive knit. I actually brought this along with me to Vogue Knitting Live to knit on while just hanging out with friends. Yeah, I was just hanging out again. I was just wandering around with Ellie, Skandir, and Ine, who is Nina, who has the This Old Knit podcast. Yeah, we were just chilling, knitting, chatting, and it was just so nice to work on. But yeah, so here's what it looks like so far. And I'm holding it together with just a skein of undyed mohair in my Ghost Lace base. So, but yeah, just basic mohair, kid silkays, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so that is where I am with that. And yeah, it's just going to be just a simple blanket throw that I put over my chair here in my craft room. And yeah, because in the mornings during the winter, I get chilly, so this will be perfect, a perfect thing to chuck on. Yeah, so that is it for works in progress. Although, no, I have more works in progress. This is going to be a long episode, my friends. The other thing that I cast on spontaneously is the Sorrel. Is it Sorrel? I think it's Sorrel, or the Sorrel. I believe it's Sorrel by Voolenvine. And I saw so many of these at Vogue Knitting Live wandering around as samples, and yeah, it's coming along. So I'm still working my way through the yoke. Let me see. It just has this really beautiful motif. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like a willow tree almost, or spider legs. Between willow tree and spider legs. I don't know what kind of combination that is, but anyway. This is also out of my hand-dyed yarn, Voolenvine yarns, holding 2 strands of Nouveau, which is a single ply merino, and again, Ghost Lace in my Dragon Tears colorway. So I'm really, really loving the way this is knitting up. It's not like, this is probably one of the most like one of the craziest colors I dye, but it's not like in your face crazy. So I will show you the yarn still skeined up. So yes. So yeah, these are the two skeins that I'm holding together, and I love the way these play together. So anyway, yeah, that has been kind of, it feels like while I'm knitting on it, I feel like I'm getting nowhere with it, but at the same time, I'm almost done with the yoke chart. It's a very slow process, if that's how I could describe it. It's very slow, very meditative, whereas, you know, other patterns you can just zoom through. This is, each row is just very slow. And that kind of, that's very, I find that very challenging. I'm not gonna lie. I just like to zoom through rows, but anyway, this is, you know, it's kind of teaching me to just take my time, enjoy the process. I'm getting through it. I'm not giving up on it, but there are times when I'm just like, am I feeling this? Am I feeling it? You know, but I have a funny feeling once I get through the yoke, it'll be smooth sailing, because the rest of it, it's all reverse stockinette. And I'm hoping that means you just flip it, you know, you just flip it inside out and knit all around, and then, you know, anyway, I'm thinking out loud. But anyway, it's, yeah, it's coming along. And I did not swatch. I just don't swatch. I just don't do it. It's not in my wheelhouse. It's not what I want to do. I don't find it fun. And unless it really has to fit me, I'm not going to swatch. I'll be totally honest with you. But anyway, yeah, so that is my Sorrel. The other thing that I have to share with you, the other semi-whip, I guess, I cast it on, and I'm just still, I've hit a wall, guys. So when I went to Vogue Knitting Live, the only purchase that I made was from the Magpie and Spin Cycle booth. So I purchased this gorgeous skein of Magpie fibers in her domestic fingering. It's this really lovely squidgy sock yarn base, and it's definitely not. It feels like sock yarn, but it doesn't have to be for socks. You can use yarn for anything. But yeah, it's her domestic fingering, 100% domestic superwash merino in her Selkie colorway, and it's this delicious dark chocolate gray brown. And again, the light, like, I love this color. I think it's great, but at Vogue Knitting Live, it looked a little different in the lighting, but I'm still, like, again, love the colorway, and I got it in my head as soon as, like, I saw the yarn and I saw it with the spin cycle. I got it in my head that I was going to knit a Stonecrop pullover by Andrea Mowry, and that is what I cast on. And I bought yarn, like all the yarn for it. 2 skeins of domestic fingering and 2 skeins of spin cycle yarns. One of which these skeins ended up in this hat, Payback, and then this one is Cold Comfort. And again, the lighting there was just so off. I totally, like, once I saw it in daylight, I was just like, not really what I was going for this project, at least. I mean, it's a beautiful colorway, but just like lots of, I want to, like, as Ellie described it, very sweet shades. So you have like minty greens, buttery yellows, pinky corals, and some mauve in here, which is really lovely. And I could totally see knitting with this, but not for the Stonecrop. I think that something else had to happen there. So I went on their website, and they did have a colorway in stock that struck my fancy, which is their Tough Love colorway, and I'll pop a photo of it here. Now again, they make it very clear on their website that, you know, their dye lots vary. You know, if you have, you know, a preference, just leave it in the notes. You know, we'll do our best to, you know, make sure you get skeins that, you know, have the colors that you are looking for. Anyway, they're very transparent about that. And I did leave in the notes, I'm like, can you please have, like, send me skeins that, you know, have that air on the side of mauve and purples and, you know, what have you. And bless them, they did, but it's not, it's not the shade that I was really hoping for. I mean, it is mauve, but it's a little too bubblegum pink for me. A little too bubblegum pink. So I'm thinking, yeah, it's gonna have high contrast, and that's just not what I'm really going for. I don't know. So again, I haven't decided if I'm gonna return these or destash them. I'm going to think about it, but I don't think this is going to happen. It's not what I had in mind. But then, of course, I did return to my stash, and I do have 2 skeins of the same dyed-in-the-wool in their Idle Nights colorway, which I think is much better suited, but at the same time, I'm just not I'm not a blue person. So... But I know a lot of you were saying to skein it up, cake it up to reveal its true colors, because that is true. There are a lot of hidden colors in here, and I did see online this knits up beautifully. So this might happen. So anyway, yeah, again, when it comes to fades and I don't know, it's not my strong point. And that's where I struggle the most with. And when I hit a wall like that, I don't know. I still want to knit it. It's just, I just have to, I don't know. I have to think about it. I have to think about it, guys. So... It's cast on. It's ready to go. I just have to make an executive decision. But I think Idle Nights might happen. Anyway, we'll revisit. It's not a lost cause. It's yarn. I can always rip it out and repurpose it for another project if the Stonecrop just does not work out. So anyway, yeah, those are my works in progress this week. And yeah, hopefully I will have some more finished objects or what have you progress to share with you next week. So that is the knitting content for this week. Moving along, let's chat about sewing. As for sewing, I guess you can all see the elephant in the room. This was supposed to be my birthday outfit. And you might notice I use the word was. Yeah, so let me talk about this. So yeah, this entire pattern here is McCall's M7355. So really, really lovely pattern, straightforward, everything fit right out of the envelope. Fits like a glove, not gonna lie, there's nothing wrong with this pattern. Everything sewed up the way it should. It's just not my style. I know guys. I tried it on, and you know when you try something on and you're just like, hard no, I don't know, it's my own personal brand of crazy. Again, everything fits fine. It looks, I don't know, it's just not me. It's not me. First of all, this is a crop top. Like the hem of the shirt is right here, and then it allows for midriff. It allows for some midriff to show, and then the waistline of the dress covers my belly button. So there's that, but at the same time, it's just a little too cropped for me. And while I have nothing against, I like my stomach just fine. I have no qualms about it. However, I think because I have such a long torso, it makes me feel a little weird. I can't describe it, but I just don't feel comfortable in serious crop tops. I need a little bit of length to it. So I'm sure it looks fine, but I'm definitely gonna make this top again. I'm just gonna lengthen it, and then of course use not so glitzy fabric. I think that's the main thing. Like I wear it, like it looks fun. It's a fun top, but it's a little too flashy for me. I like the idea of flashy, but I can't do flashy on this type of scale. So yeah, I'm gonna find it a new home, and I have a little idea of who might like it. You might get a text from me later. You probably know who you are. But yeah, the skirt has its issues as well. I mean, again, it fits fine, but I used some velvet that I purchased from Affordable Fabrics, my Affordable Fabrics trip in Connecticut. The skirt's lovely. I added the tie, which I think was a mistake because velvet bows are not the greatest. Surprisingly, I had no trouble sewing with velvet. It's a little bit slippery, but if you go slow and you use, a good stitch length, it's fine. It's great. It's a fine pattern, a fine fabric to work with. It's pretty stable, depending on the type of velvet, I guess. This one in particular was fine. It was, okay. But I don't think the bow was a good option because if you can see from the side, they actually have you gather it at the side and add it. So yeah, it just adds a little too much bulk to the waist, I think. And then the tying, because, when velvet rubs up against itself with anyway, it's not a good situation. I'm not a fan of it. So I might go in and remove the bow. That's going to take a little bit of surgery, but otherwise, yeah, this right here was not happening. So yeah, that's what happened with this. But on the back, I'm going to turn it around. Yeah, so I think Edith Headless gained a little weight, so the zipper isn't closing all the way, but anyway, you get the point. So yeah, just a basic invisible zip all the way up to the top, and then this, the top requires a separating zipper. So an invisible zipper is hidden in the seam, and then the separating zipper is visible, but then it just opens like that and then separates like so. But yeah, I like the top, but it's just, I wasn't feeling it, guys. So yeah, I'm gonna see what I can do to alter the dress, remove the bow, and then I think I'm gonna regift the top to somebody or just donate it because it's, I don't know, it's not me. So yeah, that's the tale of woe about that. But it was really, I'm not gonna lie, this was so fun to sew. Again, very simple, very quick to pull together. I had the skirt done in an afternoon. I had the top done in an evening. I definitely recommend this pattern. You know, just if you have some nice fancy fabric or special fabric that you've been holding on to, I mean, come on, this is, you know, a no-brainer. So yeah, again, I am definitely going to be making this top again. This time I actually want to use some black lace and underline it with some black, so it's just kind of like this kind of textured, you know, something longer obviously, so I think I might have to do that over the weekend. That would definitely get a lot of wear, I believe. Yeah, but that's the tale of this project right here. I have not been able to get much sewing done otherwise, unfortunately. So I know I still have to finish Dennis's jacket. That I will get to at some point. But yeah, I think this weekend I really just want to sew some practical things for myself. I definitely want to knit sew a pinafore of some kind. I know Helen's Closet, the York pinafore is really popular, but something about the shape, something about it I'm just not, it isn't clicking with me. So I think I did see a pattern by Our Lady of Leisure, which is a newish kind of sewing pattern company. I will pop a link to them in the description box below, but they have a lot of fun patterns, a lot of very versatile shapes and stuff, but they have a really cute pinafore, kind of, you know, just like kind of like an apron. It's like out of corduroy, but it just has like an apron top and then it flares out, whereas the Helen's Closet one kind of has like a balloon shape, or, you know, very fitted. I don't do well with that because my hips are the biggest part of my body, and that's something I just try to balance out with other, you know, like A shapes and whatnot. But I think that'll just be like a really fun practical addition to my work wardrobe during the week, because I definitely need things with pockets in them. And this has like a front pocket, it has back pockets, and I think it's really cute. It'll go with some, you know, my Soldotna very nicely. So anyway, yeah, and I am actually wearing my Zephyr dress. It's a skater dress by Deer and Doe Patterns, and I wear the heck out of this thing, guys. It is awesome. Highly recommend it. Very beginner friendly. Jersey fabric. I will stand up so you can see. Yeah, it's just a basic skater dress. It has princess seams, top stitching, and goes with just about everything. So this one, I think if I make this again, when I make it again, I'm gonna lower it about an inch, the waistline, because again, I have a very long torso and short legs, and this is just like a little bit too high for me. So yeah. Anyway, those are my musings for what I plan on sewing. So I think that is it for sewing and knitting and the general content of this episode. So I'm going to move along into the Blather segment, a segment where I chat about what's been happening in my life, should you care to stick around. But of course, I am having an update, a shop update, tomorrow, or when you're watching this, on January 31st, my birthday, at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope you guys can make it. I'm going to be having some more cauldron worsted in there, so my worsted base, and footsie and some Volca. So, you know, those are the bases that I'm going to be having. And yeah, if you did sign up for my newsletter, you should be getting an email soon letting you know what colorways and bases and shop news, you know, to expect in the update. So, and yeah, as always, subscribe to the newsletter if that's something you want to be notified about. You can do that by going to my website, voolenvineyarns.com, clicking on the newsletter link, entering your info, and every week I send out a newsletter letting you know the details. So yeah, I hope you can make it, guys. All right, life stuff. Tomorrow, as I mentioned, is my birthday, and I am gonna give myself the day off because I can. So yeah, I'm gonna finish recording this podcast, edit it, export it, and send out the newsletter, schedule the shop update, finish taking some photos of yarn, and then I'm just gonna let loose. Yeah, I'm gonna give myself a long weekend of making. All I really want to do for my birthday is just clear the decks, have a long weekend of nothing to do, no obligations, nowhere to go, and just make all the things. It's gonna be so good, you guys. Yeah, I haven't had one of those weekends in a really long time, or it feels like I haven't had one of those in a really long time. I may leave the house with Dennis to do something fun. I know tomorrow we're gonna go out to eat. We're gonna go to one of my favorite restaurants in Brooklyn called Maison Premiere. It's a really fun place. It's very 1920s inspired. You walk in there and you feel like you've stepped into the 1920s. It is wonderful. They have oysters, they have absinthe cocktails. Yes, I am here for it. So yeah, I actually went there last week with my friend, and yeah, anyway, it was I remembered how great it was, and I'm going back there with Dennis. So anyway, yeah, so that's gonna be Friday, and yeah, I just hope to get some sewing done over the weekend. But other than that, last weekend, Dennis and I, this is part of his birthday present to me. We got us tickets to see Phantom of the Opera on Broadway. Total tourists in our own backyard. I don't know what I love about it, but it's just such a novelty to me because yeah, I was born in Brooklyn and grew up in Manhattan, and now I'm back in Brooklyn. I've come full circle. But I don't get to, or I feel like I take a lot of what's available to me in New York for granted. So I'm always excited like when I get to do some touristy things and really appreciate like what we have here. And yeah, I remember when I was little, I remember I was 5 years old, and my mom, she saw the original Broadway production with Sarah Brightman, and I'm totally blanking on who actually played Phantom of the Opera, but I remember she came home and gave me the soundtrack, and I was obsessed with it. Like, I would play this thing on repeat, and yeah, I knew all the songs, all the words to every song. And then I remember a couple nights ago, Dennis and I were, or last month or whatever, Dennis and I were driving in the car, and somehow the topic of Phantom of the Opera came up. I'm like, we should totally go see it. So yeah, Dennis surprised me with tickets to go see Phantom of the Opera. I'm like, awesome. It was so good, you guys. I know the storyline, it's very campy or whatever, but I love this stuff so much. I'm not sure Dennis enjoyed it as much as I did, because when you ask your spouse or significant other whether or not they had a good time, and they reply, if you had a good time, honey, I had a good time. Yeah. As far as what I've been watching on TV, Dennis and I have actually been really enjoying The Marvelous Miss Maisel, which is surprising. I wasn't sure I wasn't going to like it as much, and I sure as heck didn't think Dennis was going to like it. But we just finished watching season 1, and we're hooked. We are very hooked. The costumes are great. It's hilarious, and I definitely recommend it. So that's what we've been watching. I have been reading, I just finished reading 2 books. So the first one that I just finished reading was Governess Gone Rogue, which is a book that I picked up while on vacation. Just a really light, fluffy romance novel. It stunk. It was what I needed at the time, but the ending, all these books are so predictable. They all have happy endings or whatever, but just the whole premise of it, it was kind of stupid. But if you are into that type of thing, I will leave a link down below. The book that I did enjoy that I just finished reading was a book recommendation from my friend Tanya, who has the Knitting Spring podcast. She recommended Behind Closed Doors by, blanking on the name, but anyway, of course, links below. I was surprised. This isn't a type of genre that I normally gravitate towards. It's more like thriller, more like a thriller, I would say. I would say, if you are easily triggered by certain topics, this might not be the book for you, but I was completely hooked by I listened to the audiobook, but I was completely hooked by like the first 10 minutes. And that's always a good sign, because sometimes it takes me like an hour to really get into a book, and even then I'm just like, if I'm not into it, do I really want to keep listening or reading? But this definitely held my attention, and just had, the storyline itself wasn't it wasn't the best book that I've ever read, but the story just holds your attention, and you just want to find out what happens, and it was just really a really good thriller. So just to kind of give you a basic idea of what the story's about, it's about this woman who has a sister with Down syndrome, and basically she's the primary caretaker of her sister, and she didn't really think she would find a guy that would be as accepting of her, willing to make her sister a part of her life. And long story short, this guy comes into her life, sweeps her off her feet, is so charming, loves her sister, and, basically he's the perfect guy. And of course, the problem with that, my hackles start going up. I'm like, all right, something's wrong here. He can't be this perfect. And, little details kind of lead you to think that he's kind of a psychopath. And, she ends up marrying him, and I'll leave it there. Definitely check it out if that's your thing. It's a really good, I really enjoyed it. So anyway, there's that. And then I'm currently reading a book that has been on my wish list for a really long time. It's called Serpent and Dove by, again, blanking on the author's name, but it came highly recommended by Queen Sarah J. Maas herself, the author of A Court of Thorns and Roses, and twist my arm, I will check it out. So I'm actually reading the book on my Kindle. I started listening to the audio, but something about the narrator's voice, I don't know, between the storyline and then the author's voice, I wasn't having it. And then I, just decided to give the actual physical book a go. Or the Kindle version, I should say. And so far, so good. I'm not going to say I'm in love with it. I'm interested in the premise of it, in which it's about witches, I believe during the time, like Gregorian France, if I had to guess. I know it's fantasy, but it's apparently about a witch and a witch hunter that are forced into marriage, and we shall see where the story unfolds there. But so far, again, the premise is holding my interest. The writing itself, I'm a little on the fence about. It's not a smooth read. When you pick up a book and you read it and it just goes, this is a little jerky for me. And the dialogue it doesn't feel authentic. I don't know. I'm still early on in the book, but so far, so good, I'm going to give it some more time. I'm going to give it a chance. But yeah, that is what I'm currently reading. And again, I will link to all these books down below where you can find them if you are curious yourself. Yeah, so I've been rambling on for quite some time. I feel like I'm gonna end things here. As always, thank you so much for hanging out with me this week. If you did enjoy this episode, please feel free to like and subscribe below. I put out a video every Friday for your viewing pleasure, and that's it. Happy knitting, happy sewing, happy making, and I'll see you next time.